This episode is in partnership with the Rivoli Arts District, a place where you can watch, learn, and create. Thank you to the RAD for allowing us to utilize this space so we can create anything. Welcome back, Jay. It's so good to be back in the chairs.
I agree. It's been a while ever since we recorded our last episode, so I'm happy we're back.
You know, something really intrigues me about this episode that we're going to get into today. And before we really do, I have a question for us. And so, what if the biggest problem in women's basketball isn't talent, funding, or exposure, but how the business is actually built? What do you think about that?
Well, there are a few events happening currently with the women's basketball scene as far as the business side. So first, look at me hitting the microphone. So, by the way, if you're watching this on video, you probably noticed we got some new mics here.
Look good.
Shout out to Lacrosse Film Academy. Thank you.
Y'all did your big one on this one. You did.
Well, but we have the WNBA, CBA negotiations currently happening. We have Unrivaled League, which is about to be done soon, coming up March 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a new league coming up, which is Project B. Plus Athletes Unlimited. Like there's just a lot of things happening in the women's basketball world, which makes it very entertaining in a way, but I can see the conflicts there too.
I agree. You know, some of y'all, just a reminder, this is She Won Podcast. This is where we talk about sports, we talk about business and everything in between. And don't forget, I'm your co-host, Angel.
And I'm your co-host, Julia.
And let's just get right into the topic of sport.
Okay, so I'm going to start us with this because Unrivaled is currently happening, and there were some mixed opinions with Unrivaled between, well, here there's a few things. So Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart are the co-founders of Unrivaled League, but they also play in the W.
Yes, they do.
So this is the second season, and people have been watching, but we don't know if they have been watching enough, right? So here's a headline coming from Yahoo Sports. As Unrivaled second season unfolds, empty seats and tumbling ratings expose a league betting big on growth, only to confront the limits of hype without elite talent. Y'all, this is not me saying this, okay? This is just I'm quoting the headline from Yahoo Sports, which is insane.
Besides Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, two obviously elite women's basketball players, there are multiple elite women in Unrivaled League.
I don't know what they were trying to say.
I'm not sure what they're trying to say either. But to me, it plays off of that kind of whole problem in the beginning of Caitlin Clark kind of hinting that she was going to be a part of the league.
Well, it wasn't her. No, well, it wasn't her who was hinting.
It was Unrivaled.
Yes, Unrivaled. As they were recruiting people to come into the league, obviously Caitlin Clark hype, and they were using that to market their own league, which is, it makes sense. I think
it's a good idea.
It is a good idea, but then it's tough when you're not able to close on a player like this, because essentially they're like, they didn't use her name, but they used pieces. They used 22. So they're like, meet us this date at 22. So they kept using 22, which was hinting that she was going to be in the league.
That's really tough.
But come on, like, she's not the only elite player.
She's not. I think right now we're in a spot in women's basketball where Caitlin Clark is like the premier face of women's basketball, that women, men, whoever's watching, they really want to watch her. They want to see her play. And if she's a part of the league, they want to tune in. And if she's not, there could be potential lowerings of viewership, I would say. Anything if she's not a part of something.
Yeah. We call the Caitlin Clark bubble. It's just this swarm of people that came into women's basketball recently because of Caitlin Clark. And then if she's there, they'll watch it. If she's not, they will not watch it. Even though there's elite athletes all around.
Now, I have a question for you. Why do you think viewership has gone down in the Unrivaled League versus last year? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, first is because the first year there was a lot of hype around it because they were using all those college players. They were participating. I don't know if it was camps or just the training, but they had a lot of those big names that have a lot of following on TikTok, especially. They were wearing the brand, and a lot of people were curious and wanted to know what Unrivaled was going to be about. And now that they know what Unrivaled is about, they might not be as interested. So that's probably the reason why there's not a bigger viewership.
I think another reason why there's not as big as a viewership is because it's hard to get connected with teams, in my opinion. You know, like you like players, like you like Paige Burgers. I'm a fan, you know what I mean? But it's really hard to get connected to certain teams because it's not a part of a city, or you know what I mean? And so people aren't able to just like get connected with that one team or connected with that one city. That's a big part of why people watch women's basketball or sports in general. They just want to be like connected and invested. And to me, like that's already kind of difficult. Another thing too, because it is a viewership and it's centralized in one location, and it's kind of somewhat hard for people outside of the United States to watch. That's a hindrance too, I think.
Yeah.
And then you have to watch it on YouTube, or you have to watch it like on CBS or TNT. And you know, not everyone has TNT, or
I don't have TNT, and like then you just add some like another membership that you gotta pay for to watch something.
Correct.
I wish it was unified a little bit more with the W, because then it could have been under the WNBA pass. We'll get into that too.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's gonna work.
That's another crazy part.
Yeah,
I mean, the players wouldn't be able to watch it anyways because they don't get the W.
That's a whole other story. Here's another quote that I found on Unrivaled. It said, the 3-on-3 Unrivaled League made history in its inaugural tour stop, and that's in Philadelphia, drawing 21,490 fans to Xfinity Mobile Arena, a record attendance for a regular season women's professional basketball game and for any event in the venue's history. So to me, that tells that people still want to watch the sport. But TV-wise, like online-wise, wherever people watch their sports, it's just harder. It's more difficult. Because people came up and they showed out in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? So why people want to watch, but maybe it's just too hard to watch.
Which is a sign for a new franchise should be coming up in Philadelphia, because, I mean, obviously people want to watch women's basketball.
They are in 2030.
2030?
2030. There's supposed to be a team.
That's way too long from now. Like, we don't even know.
Y'all, you know something? I think about that too. I'm not opposed to that thought too. Like, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just want these teams to pop up. But it really does take time. It takes investment. It does. That's the side of business that we're going to continue to talk about, where we have to continue to make sure that these teams, even though they pop up, they have to be sustainable. They have to make money. They have to be able to play the players. They need to pay back the investors. Those things are so important. You know?
I agree. So going back to Philly, it was great to see that many people showed up.
I agree.
I wonder how much. I mean, I'm not. The games were happening in Miami, right?
Yes, they're centered out of Miami.
Gotcha. So they're centered out of Miami, and then there was just this one event in Philadelphia, and people were crazy about it.
Yes,
that's great.
That's amazing. I apologize, you guys. I don't know the exact figure, but I think they made something like $2 million of revenue
out of that one event.
Yes. I believe so, which is really impressive. It is, especially for a league that's 2 years old.
I agree. Let's talk about the valuation that came up.
So $340 million valuation is really impressive to me, despite that decline of viewership. But it goes back to what I'm saying. People want to watch. They want to watch women's sports. They want to watch women's basketball specifically. They want to be a part of what's going on. So, like, and not only they want to watch, people want to back it and they want to invest in it. That's where it comes to. That's another thing that makes Unrivaled more attractive for players to be a part of, because they get equity. They are actually a part of the business.
I don't know about that. They do get equity, but I don't think they just have straight equity from the beginning. It's correct. Something that they're not going to be able to access right away.
That's true.
So then it sounds like it's almost like a buzzword. Yes, players get equity. Come here, you get equity. But then it's like, if you're not able to access your equity until...
Well, you don't need to, right? You don't need to access your equity in year 1 or 2. Think about it. Like, think about a brand new business. When a business starts, people are really attracted to equity because that's what they want longevity wise. They want that 10 years, 12 years down the line. So because it's valuated at $340 million right now, that's important. It's a whole nother situation if they're valued at 100 million or anything less. I'm not saying 100 million is small, because it's not. But $340 million right now for a young league is extremely impressive.
So do all players get equity? That's another thing too, because so players, let's say they go through, let's say they over the years, over 10 years, they're gonna go through over 1,000 players. All those players are getting equity. Then this equity is getting split up. Like
I think because this is a new league, they're able to offer those types of things, those types of perks to these players. But eventually they're gonna have to stop. They have to stop.
Right.
They will. But if you get in early, then those players are super fortunate because they're in the ground.
They're the founding players.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. With the Unrivaled League, there's something that I don't like about the Unrivaled League, which is I think the format being different than 5v5, which is what you see at the W, is cool because, quote unquote, I'm gonna put it in quotes, is not a conflict. It is, but I'm gonna put it in quotes. But the 3v3 is not the traditional 3v3. So there's not really like a translation into the world, how the world sees the FIBA style 3v3, where you're playing like half court. Here you're playing full court. So I always think about when you want to bring people that are watching the game, traditionally they are used to seeing one way, and then you're going to have a challenge if you change the format.
Yeah.
This episode is in partnership with Artisa Gallery. Thank you so much for sponsoring this podcast. Artisa Gallery is a space where you can go create and flow. Thank you.
That's a fair point. And to combat your points, kind of be against it, I'd say they're not looking to try to be like FIBA. They're not looking to try to be like 3v3. They want it to be different. They want it to be something that is completely different because of the fact that gets more eyes too. Once you see something different, people are intrigued. They want to know more about it. And I think it translates fine in both ways. So just think about it. It's a combination of the two. It's a combination of 5v5 and 3v3 because of the format playing full court. The court is smaller, you know what I mean? But it's still at 3v3, so there's more 1v1 opportunities. There's less help, so there's more opportunities for players to kind of get theirs and get buckets. It's more fun, and because it's up and down, it's a situation where it looks even more exciting because then you have fast break, then you have change of pace, different possessions. So it's more exciting to me than the traditional format of 3v3 because although it's quicker in a sense, it's more like basketball, 5v5. It's fun. It's fun to watch, don't you think?
Well, yes, it is fun to watch, but to me, it's also like when it comes to the traditional 3v3, you got worldwide competitions that you can have your teams going to. With Unrivaled, you can't really do that. This is the only place where you play this style of game. So you can't take this outside of here.
That's true.
When it comes to growth and long-term viewership, you gotta add the world. There's no other courts around the world that are gonna be the size of Unrival's court.
That's a point that we were kind of talking about and discussing when we're talking about viewership declining too. Like the fact that it is that difference, it's not as attractive to some people.
Exactly. I feel like you limit yourself when you do something like this, when you make that choice to have that as the format of the league.
And like, who's to say the league won't expand to other parts of the world? Like I know they have a certain amount of teams right now, but who's to say they won't do the Unrivaled League Europe, the Unrivaled League Asia?
They should.
They could. And if you do stuff like that, then you start to bring the world back into the game. But you have to start in the United States because the United States is the birthplace of basketball.
Is it?
Oh my gosh. This is the home of basketball. This is where things happen, right here in the United States. We started it, we perfected it. Let's not get into that, girl. You know who won. You know who won that.
We don't have to get into it again. unless they really want to. I'm just kidding.
But you know who was going to win?
Whatever.
USA, baby.
Whatever. Let's get into the next headline, which is Unrivaled. Excuse me, not Unrivaled.
He's right here. I agree. You know something? Here's a question that we were talking about too. When you're thinking about all these things about Unrivaled, what does this tell you about where women's basketball is right now? What is that? What do you think that? What do you think? And then I'll tell you what I think as a women's basketball coach.
This is giving me PTSD from the current volleyball world, not volleyball world, current volleyball state in the United States. So with the leagues coming up, so you got, I'm going to start with volleyball. You got 4 leagues, 3 professional leagues in volleyball. Right now I'm counting Athletes Unlimited, which we didn't even mention here, but Athletes Unlimited as well. I think it's splitting the audience, which is cool. The sport is growing, the business is growing, people are watching. That's why there are more people that are trying to come up with the next best thing. You create opportunities, but eventually they're going to start dropping, right? Because without viewership, you can't sustain a league long term. On the men's side, for example, they got the NBA, and that's it. That's all people watch, and that's why it has been able to be sustainable for so long. What's currently happening right now is cool and exciting for us to talk about, but I'm very concerned about the health of all of those leagues that are coming through that are not the WNBA, because the WNBA is already established at this point. My concern now is those other leagues.
Interesting perspective. I actually have a little bit of an opposite thought. I like the challenge of all these leagues coming up because I think it forces the W to make some decisions and to change and to be better. The W it's essentially one of the founding leagues in the United States of women's basketball. There's others, of course, but the W being that, it should be the pioneer in so many things. It should be the best. It should be the first. And so these other leagues that are popping up are, to me, they're challenging the W. They need to. The W needs to be challenged to be better. It has to be better. And so Unrivaled, paying players more money in a condensed season, it's awesome to me. That challenges the W to raise the money for players. It just does, because people are like, okay, I'll go play for 8 weeks and I'll make $220,000 and compete. And that's a great amount of money for any person, not just a women's basketball athlete, but a normal person. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, but here's the thing. The money is not all of it.
That's true.
Like, money matters. And obviously, as a player, I would want to play wherever I was making the most money. But there's also the brand side that us players may lack seeing that. I now see it because now that I am beyond the point of just being a player, also being an entrepreneur, you're able to see the business side of it a little bit better with different lenses. So the brand that the W brings and the platform that it creates for those players to be showcased, it's already beyond the other leagues that are currently coming up. And I mean, like, would you want to just have, like, think of it as a business, create a business just to challenge the monopoly that is happening right now?
Well, they didn't create the business just to challenge them. They created a business to
surpass it, but they say, see, that's the problem. They created a business. I'm putting words in your mouth.
Right.
They created a business to be side to side, which I don't see it as side to side. I see it as competition.
I do too. I see it as competition as well, but it's not, but it is. And it's not because the seasons don't overlap. The seasons are one side. So essentially, this Unrivaled is going to be finished before the WNBA starts, hopefully this year. Gosh, we'll get to that later. But going back to what you're saying, they created Unrivaled because they wanted to create a league for women's basketball players to play here in the United States, to make more money, Okay. And to create a platform and create a business that they want it to. It is about money too. Like let's be honest. It is. No one creates a business thinking, oh yeah, I'm just gonna solve this problem only. I'm gonna solve this problem, but I'm also gonna make money. And so that's why they created the Unrivaled League. And I think it's an excellent league. But I still respectfully, I'm not saying this to minimize the Unrivaled League. I'm saying this because these new leagues are challenges to the W. They are. The W is the original one. And so once you pop up, you're going to have to go against the monopoly. You're going to have to go against the top one. How does that look? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How does that work?
That's true. With Unrivaled, though, there is a comparison to it, which I think is the big three. There's a good comparison to the Unrivaled League.
Ice Teas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I said Ice Tea. Sorry, Ice Cube, my bad. Yes, Ice Cube. Yes.
I think that one is a good comparison. So at first, he had those NBA players that are coming to it. They were leaving the. Did I say WNBA?
You said NBA.
Okay. He had those NBA players coming and joining, some of them were joining until the NBA was like, nope, you got to stop that. So he was no longer able to have those players coming up. And that was a problem because now the league doesn't have those big names because of the platform that the NBA created.
You do make an excellent point when you talk about the platform of the NBA and the WNBA. There's nothing else that compares to those two platforms. It just doesn't. Other than the NCAA, Division I, the top teams, the SEC, the ACC, those two platforms are huge.
That's true. And honestly, on the women's side of basketball, NCAA is they have more eyes than DW currently.
Yeah.
But that's starting to change because those players are coming from college and joining the WNBA, which is bringing viewership up.
And Unrivaled started by understanding they need those players to bring more eyes.
That's facts.
And so they do the smart thing too. But I get your point. I think the business of the Unrivaled League is an excellent start. I would like to see how they sustain it.
I agree. I think it's a good starting point for a startup. But we should not forget it's a startup.
There's going to be ups and downs.
Yeah, startups usually fail on the first 5 years.
They do, y'all. They really do. It's true. And we're not wishing that the Unrivaled League fails. I just want this league to be sustainable.
I agree. Now let's get into the juicy stuff, which is
what you got?
The CBA.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
What
that
a
is
drama.
a whole
What a drama.
telenovela.
All right, do you want to start it or me?
Yes. Okay, so there's currently, the biggest thing is that is splitting the negotiations is the revenue split and the salary cap.
Yeah.
That what the players want and what the W wants to give. So players want 27.5% of gross revenue. So the money before expenses with a 9.5 million salary cap. Now the league is offering 70% of net revenue, which is after expenses are deducted, with a 5.65 million cap. I think that's pretty sweet. So, but here's the second part to it. So the league has never made its financial records available, which is probably the reason why they cannot get into an agreement right now. And they have not provided clarity on calculation used to determine the project losses. Any claims would be sustained under the union's latest proposal.
When I think about these type of negotiations, at first, let me be honest with you guys. I'm kind of in the middle right now. At first, I was very much on the side of the players. Like they deserve more, they need more. But as I continue to follow these negotiations, I'm almost at a point where they might be teetering on the side of being a little greedy. But I also understand that this is the best time for women's sports that we've seen in history. I understand why they're asking for more. You made an excellent point while we were off camera, talking about like right now they are literally shooting for the moon and hoping that they land on stars that are close You know what I mean? And I think they have to do that. I think they need to do that because this is the time. If they don't ask for as much as possible, they're going to fall for anything.
I think there are a few things that players might be missing from the whole business of the WNBA. So first, the WNBA has been happening for 30 years, correct?
Little
So
less.
30 years, they're currently making money. They weren't always making money.
Yes.
Obviously, they're not in the business of losing money, but there was a point where things started to change, and then those owners that were taking losses in the beginning are now able to capitalize and actually take some profits. And that's when, and then it all came together with like players also wanting more. I think it's fair to ask for more. I'm not going to stop women from making more money because we want women to make more money. But I think 30%, because they initially proposed, 30% of gross revenue sounds insane. Because gross revenue, they haven't even paid the bills yet. 30% is already gone.
I think that's the part that I keep talking about sustainability. Like, can that I'm not sure if they understand if that's even sustainable or not.
I agree.
These women are intelligent women. They've got business owners. They've got lawyers. They know, I understand they know things. But without understanding the financials of the W, it's hard to say that's a fair split for both parties.
I think 30% gross revenue going to anybody doesn't make any sense.
It's like you have to consider that there are more than just the bills to pay. Right?
Yeah.
Like, just think about this. The chartered flights for the league, I think it costs $30 million.
See, that I don't like that.
$30 million for chartered flights for the entirety of the season. That's not a small amount of money.
Mm.
And there's other things. Like, there's other expenses. And more importantly, like your point, like, it's time to start paying the investors back, the owners back. The people have taken losses in this league, and they have.
I agree, to be able to sustain it. Plus, differently, because a lot of times there are comparisons to what happens in the NBA versus what happens in the WNBA. But the WNBA is split towards multiple private investors, including the NBA as well, because the NBA owns part of the W. I think the W itself has 40% of the ownership of the league, and everything else is split. So that doesn't make sense to me. The salary cap, okay.
I'm okay with the salary cap too.
9.5 million.
I'm okay with that number.
I mean, not everybody's going to receive 9.5 million. Now, $5.6 million for a season is also very good. So, okay, hold on a second. So, when I see the number of $9.5 million of a salary cap, I'm not sure if that's like per individual player or if that's the entirety of the team. That's something that I would like our listeners to comment on and tell us that you know for facts. Like, what do you guys know for the facts? What do you guys understand? What do you guys interpret? These types of things. I think it is, yeah, I'll leave it up to them to correct me, but I believe it's the cap is for a player. I'm more concerned about other things. Like the housing, I think, is very reasonable because, yes, you cannot just find housing easily, but at the same time, like if you're making a salary, if you're asking for more money, why are you also going to ask for housing? You know, then decrease the money, ask for the housing. Housing has to happen. It has to happen. Like, there is no way. I'm going to use the market of New York for an example. There is no way a player makes the roster on a team. They have housing. They have to leave that housing because they get cut or they get traded for whatever reason. What are they going to do in a lease in New York? Well, that is true. I didn't think from that part. They should just get a big mansion and house all those players. These are grown ass women. That's what happened in a lot of sports. That is true. They share, but like these are. I almost said our standards different here, but I feel like standards are a little different here in a sense. Not to disrespect other places, but I do think people have an expectation of having their own space. Well, the rookies will be just fine living in the mansion. I'll tell you that. From living in the dorm, well, I doubt Paige Beckers was living in the dorms because
Paige Beckers was living in an apartment somewhere really nice
in Connecticut.
She was living nice.
I agree. But I think that could be a good solution for the housing issue.
Or you tell them that. You tell them that. Buy a mansion. They don't even want to pay the players. They gonna spend $10 million on a mansion?
I agree. That would be just crazy. Okay, no. I got another headline for us, which is the housing portion. So as of yesterday, the WNBA submitted a new proposal guaranteeing housing for all players before phasing it out in later year.
Why phase it out?
I agree. That completely defeats the point. Like, yes, we're going to do it for
2 years.
2 days. Tomorrow.
Listen, housing needs to be a part of these contracts. It needs to be a non-negotiable. Players don't need to worry about where they're living. As a player yourself, you need to be thinking about like external things as less as possible. You should not be worried about what am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? What about my No, like I don't think that is something that you should be thinking about at the professional level.
I agree. But is Unrivaled providing housing?
I'm not sure about that.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Weeks. Okay. Let me be really honest here and say this, and people can disagree, but 8 weeks, $220,000 on average.
You can pay for an Airbnb.
Pay for 2 months of an Airbnb in Miami.
I think so too.
Or you can combine with a player if you really wanted to, and you both can pay. Yeah. I'm just being honest here. I really am. And their situation is different too, because like they're housed in one central location. Their arenas in one location. So a lot of the players, maybe they just stay somewhat close, to each other. Maybe the Unrivaled League did provide some housing, not necessarily paying for the housing, but maybe having a partnership with buildings. Apartment buildings, hotels. Like you're in Miami, so you have like a plethora of different options. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I honestly believe that the Unrivaled League probably did a great job with that. But like I said, 8 weeks, average of $220,000. I think you'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. The W is completely different. You're spending. A lot of people live in those cities,
Yeah.
They live in those cities. They have apartments. They have to figure out how to pay for those things, or they have to leave if they get traded. If you get traded to teams in the Unrivaled League, you're not leaving anywhere. You're in Miami.
I agree. Which is another reason why I think they should start trying to find a path. I would say the players, they should start to find a path on taking the negotiations to actually an end. Because this has been going for a while. It's pushing the dates here. Because if they cannot get into an agreement, essentially this season cannot start. They need to have a signed contract.
Listen to this. Listen to this quote right here that we have. The striker's real. Nafisa Collier, who was also co-founder of Unrivaled, we know that, you guys, said players have been told to save their money for 1.5 years. If there's not a season, we want to make sure everyone's prepared. Think about that.
This makes me mad. I'm mad for multiple reasons. Are you done with the poll, by the way?
Not quite. Okay, almost there. I know why you're about to be mad. Think about that. The woman running one league is also the union VP prepared to shut down the other.
Yes, exactly. Like, she is the co-founder of the league. She's playing for her own league, but then she's out here fighting for representing the players, when using that as a decoy for the other players. So you see multiple players talking about, well, now that I'm playing Unrivaled, we got other options. So how do you go out there back to the W and say, yes, I created other options for players? I don't think they'll take that very nicely.
Yeah.
I think that creates a conflict for the players that are playing for Unrivaled versus, because the players that are just exclusively playing for the W, I feel like they are in a better space. But then when you have other players that are playing for different leagues, I mean, if I was the representative of the W, I would just say, okay, then just go play for your league. That doesn't make sense. I don't know why she's still allowed. I think that's a conflict of interest. I don't know why she's allowed to still proceed as
Yeah, I
representing.
do think that is a conflict of interest. Obviously, it is. But I do think that she comes from a place of wanting the W to be better. But also realistically, she is able to say, be prepared to not play a little bit easier than others, you know? There are some women who aren't currently playing in the Unrivaled League. They're not playing in Athletes Unlimited. They're actually overseas. The W is different because they allow players to go play in other leagues. They just need to be back for training camp, essentially, you know? And so it's different. I think that Nafisa Collier is coming from a place, like I said before, of wanting the league to be better. And I think she understands, and Nneka Ogwumike, because she's the president. I think they both understand that they have to push the boundaries as much as possible. I also think that even though Nafisa Collier is the co-founder of the Unrivaled League, she wasn't the co-founder of the Unrivaled League 5 seasons ago when she had these same type of feelings of frustrations. I think it's right now at a boiling point.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is, you know what I mean? This video is in sponsorship with She Won Media, a place where you can honor the legacy of women, their thoughts, their dreams, and their conversations. So we're excited to partner with She Won Media for all of our videos.
If you are a business that has an idea that you want to create, feel free to reach out to She-Won Media at shewonmedia.com. I agree. I think what she's doing, I respect what she's doing.
Me too.
What they did is amazing. What I don't like is that she's still the representative of those players into the CBA negotiations.
They
I
want
think
her
from
to
the
be. They want her to be.
Still, from the point where she is, I mean, of course the players will want her to be the representative. I think it makes sense.
She understands the business.
Yeah. But I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to have somebody who is currently co-founding a league that is in conflict with the WNBA.
What is unfair about it?
What is unfair is that she is creating competition for the W while trying to be part of the W.
But the issue that not the issue, but what I want you and our listeners to know, my opinion is the seasons don't conflict. The seasons don't conflict, but they have spoken about they can extend this season if they choose to. But in theory, the seasons don't conflict at all.
But still, think about this. Think about her, Nafisa, is playing Unrivaled. She gets hurt playing Unrivaled. She is not going to be playing
in the W.
It's not.
It's the same difference if Brianna Stewart has just signed to play with her team in Turkey overseas. It's the same situation.
I understand, but I still think that by you as the person who is representing in the negotiations, creating that environment can be problematic. In my eyes, it's problematic. I know that there's no exclusivity for the WNBA players. They're able to go and play other places. But when you, who are part of the organization, are able, when you that are part of the organization are out here creating, I'm going to put enemy because I cannot come up with a better word. Enemy is kind of harsh. It's not that they are the enemy, but competition. You are creating competition for the league that you want to be a part of.
Yeah, you're making a good point.
Because isn't the ultimate, wouldn't it be great if in the future the WNBA could be as long as the NBA, for example?
No.
How is that not good?
Two games.
Well, that's kind of extreme, but I'm just saying that I would love to have more WNBA games because ultimately they'll cut the whole thing of players having to go overseas. If you extend the season, they make more money, then they're playing for longer, then the W can make more money by having more games and people going to those games, people watching those games for longer. I think it all makes more sense.
I'm sure that's something that they talk about. I'm sure they would love to extend the season and they would like to, but it starts in part, you know. They just extended the playoffs.
Exactly. I mean, I know it's going to happen in parts, but it's going to happen at some point because there are more people wanting to open. There are new franchises coming through.
Yes.
Right? Like there's one coming up in 2030. So if they're going to have to extend the season. The season is going to extend itself by having more teams.
Absolutely.
So that starts to go in conflict with other leagues that are outside of it. If you think about I'm gonna use the NBA. I keep bringing them up. I'm trying not to bring the NBA, the guys up all the time, but they're a good example because they're directly related. You can't play an NBA league season and then go play somewhere else overseas to make more money because it's just so tough on your body. Most seasons are set up like the established seasons in different sports are set up where you are playing for a while and then you're taking a break and then you're coming back for a while and then you're taking a break. So the WNBA is not at this point yet because they have a shorter season. So then players are unemployed for a long time. So they got to go and make more money.
I think over time it's going to happen, essentially. But I keep talking about how like the W is it's the monopoly. It's the big one, you know? It is the league that every other league would like to beat. Obviously, they don't want to be like them exactly because they find there's so many problems with the W. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But everybody wants that viewership, those eyes, that brand like the W. They want that. And it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter about Project B that we're getting ready to talk about a little bit more. It doesn't matter what AU does, Project B does, the Unrivaled League does. They are always going to have to compete with the W. They're always going to have to try to do something else to get people's eyes and attention because the W is already going to get the eyes and attention. Already. They're going to. More and more people are going to start watching. The season will extend. There's going to be more games. Players from the NCAA, Division I, Division II, wherever they come from, they're going to come and join the W. So more eyes and more viewership from that great part. That's a league too. That league coming here to the W. Like, it's going to happen regardless. And it is what it is.
That's facts. I mean, at the end of the day, the WNBA is also going to keep moving regardless. I'm really hoping that we can get that. I'm really hoping that we have a season because I think it's going to be detrimental for both sides, for the players and for the league because the momentum.
Best time.
I agree. Like it doesn't make sense for us to not. You're ridiculous. It doesn't make sense for us to not have a season. I think they're just gonna waste time on in momentum.
Yeah,
especially momentum.
I agree. But talking about Project B, kind of walk our listeners through what Project B is. Feel free to read.
I will because I'm honestly new to Project B, but it's a women's basketball league that will include 6 teams, 11 to a roster, and they will play the traditional 5-on-5. Project B plans to host 7 2-week tournaments. So 7 2-week tournaments in locations throughout Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Also, Project B will have men's and women's league, but the women will begin playing sooner. The plan is for the first women's season to begin playing in November of 2026 and conclude in April of 2027, which will possibly conflict with
possibly. It could potentially conflict with the W slightly with the training camp times in draft time frame. It already conflicts with Unrivaled already. You know what I mean? It already conflicts with Athletes Unlimited too. So that's going to happen.
I think we need all the players to kind of come together and have a conversation about what's currently happening.
Yeah.
Because now, to me, this is a game of, okay, so we have women's basketball's popular. Players are out here like wrestling. They're trying to get whoever gets the most money. And now it's like people waving the money like, hey, you come here. Hey, you come here. But it's hard. It's good in the beginning that you're going and you're getting that amount of money, but you don't know how sustainable, how long that's going to go, how sustainable that's going to be. And then you can really burn your name by leaving a team or leaving the league on a bad situation. Yeah. And then you ended up having to come back to it.
That's what I feel like Project B is. I'm really glad that you made these points. Obviously, Project B is talking about giving a start of $7 million. The starting Let me read this for you guys. It says, the league promises to pay more than the WNBA or Unrivaled for the 2025 season, more than both did. And it says the front office sports reporting, player deals in the women's league will reach 7 figures and start at $2 million annually. I think that is obviously amazing, but where are they getting $2 million annually?
Wait, it starts at $2 million. That's crazy. So they got 6 teams with 11 players. They're all getting paid at least $2 million
minimum.
Where's the money coming from?
I'm wondering that too. It's like, obviously it's great to see women get paid that much money, obviously. But where's that money coming from? How sustainable is it? And like, who's going to be watching?
Saudi Arabia.
They got money over there. They do have money over there. They really do. And that is something to consider. But how is it sustainable? And what's it like? Are people going to be watching? How do they make money?
But I think Project B makes more sense than like the business of Project B makes more sense than Unrivaled, because they're taking already the project throughout
the world.
Throughout different places in the world. So they're already introducing to the world, versus Unrivaled is very centered in the United States.
No, I actually do agree with you. I do think that concept is really cool. But I think that we don't know what Unrivaled is wanting to do in the future, first and foremost. That's one.
That's facts. I hope they add the world, because why not?
I agree. But that's the thing, though. If you don't start in the United States, I don't think that's the right way to go.
Why not?
I really do believe that like the United States is the premier place in the world for women's basketball.
But they will be also coming here, will they not?
I'm not sure.
2-week tournaments.
I'm sure if they're going to be coming. I know they're going to be going to Asia. They're going to be going to Europe. They're going to be going to Latin America. I'm not sure if they're coming to the United States. I'm not sure about that.
That will be interesting.
And we have to continue to like watch and see as more information comes out. But I do know that players have already committed to go. They
got Alyssa Thomas, Kelsey Mitchell.
Huge
they
names.
Already committed. And they were Unrivaled.
Yes.
And they already committed to go to Project B.
That's another thing too. I think players are just, it's not even about money as a part of this, but it's just about the experience of basketball. They want to experience all these different options.
I don't know if that's the case.
I really do believe
I think it's about money.
I think money is important, and they're going because of that. That's one of the reasons, one of the top reasons. But they want to experience basketball in different, like, not different places, but they want to experience these new leagues. Why not? Like, the W is over. I tried Unrivaled. Let me try Project B and see what it's talking about. Full court, you know what I mean? Like that type of play that I'm used to. And I get to travel to these different countries, these different places in the world for 14 weeks.
Well, from the player's perspective, I think it's beautiful. Like, you just get to go and choose where you want to play. I think the whole thing with the travel is great too.
Me too. I think it's excellent. I think people.
I would want to go and play in Asia, and
that's what I'm saying.
Go to Europe.
That's what I'm saying. Like, to be introduced to different parts of the world.
But I think for the player's brand, I think that also dilutes the player brand when they go and choose to play
out of the country
in different leagues. And I'm going to use the example of Caitlin Clark.
I could use the same example for Candace Parker, but go ahead.
So a player who chooses to stay and represent whatever team in the W, and they stay here, they create this very strong identity and brand, versus like a player who is going to those different places in the world. Is great for their playing experience, but it dilutes their image across multiple leagues. I think is equivalent to a player who is a franchise player, like Steph Curry, right, who it represents the same franchise, probably going to retire in the same team, and a player who's constantly changing teams, like KD.
You have a good point. I think you're on the right track. I think Caitlin Clark is an interesting example. I think Candace Parker is a great example. She, coming out of Tennessee, was the number one player coming out, essentially. Number one player in the draft. She comes in the W. all her fans from Tennessee are wanting to watch her. You know what I mean? But then she had to go play overseas. She had to go play overseas because like the money that she was making wasn't enough money to supplement her lifestyle of what she wanted for her and her family, essentially. And so the more she went overseas and back to the W, the less amount of people were watching. Like it became fewer and fewer and fewer. Not only because she was going overseas, but because the W wasn't doing a great job of capitalizing on like marketing for these types of players. Like Candace Parker was the best player, one of the best players of that time frame, of that generation coming out.
Yeah.
And like, how do you not capitalize on that? They messed up. I think now the W is just now starting to understand how important it is to capitalize on the marketing for players coming out of college. But then like understanding like that when players stay here, their image is better, their brand is better because people, this is where all the eyes are essentially.
I agree.
But I like the idea of Project B. People who already have great brands, or maybe they don't have great brands, I'm using quotes here. They have brands, but they want them to elevate in different parts of the world. They're trying something different.
That's true. Can respect that too. But I'm not a fan on the long term. I think it's hard on the long term. I would say for the WNBA right now, if I had the chance to represent the W, I'll make it where players were exclusively playing for the W. Like you are no longer gonna go overseas. I don't want it to get hurt. You are staying.
It's so hard. That's so hard
If
to
your
do.
salary is 200K is already reasonable to me. If your salary is 100K is already reasonable to ask for a player to stay for the whole time.
I disagree. I disagree because players now if players are making $350,000+ a year, I'm having a different conversation because players need to be able to supplement their income. They want to make more money. They do. They do. They don't want to just be playing basketball only and not having enough money to go do other things that they want to do. They don't. Some of these players take care of their families, you know what I mean? They have families. These are grown women and we know. So they have responsibilities. And like $100,000, like it's a great salary, but it's like minimum salary. Like that's like the lowest amount of money you should be making in LA. That's like the lowest amount of money that you should be making in New York. You know what I mean? And so when you start talking about those types of numbers, like how are these women's basketball players who give up their bodies like on the daily, every single season, how are they going to be able to really perform at their highest if they're only making $100,000 and they're living in that city? Chicago, like I'm not saying $100,000 is what you need in Chicago, but pretty close. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean? Chicago's not cheap.
Well, if they're giving housing to players, then there's no worry there.
There's other things. Food is very expensive.
You're gonna spend 6 figures on food,
Jay.
I mean, I'm not saying that. Okay,
I know
I know it may sound crazy, but I'm just giving perspective. I'm comparing this to regular jobs that people have that are not like professional athletes. I think that if I was representing the W, is not on my best interest to have a player go play somewhere else, get hurt, and then not able to play for me. So yes, there are things that they need to do in order to ask for such thing. That's why they are not able to ask for players to be exclusive to the W.
Make it worth their while.
Exactly. Like they're not able to ask for such thing yet. But I think that this is something that they should ask if they're gonna make those changes that they're planning asking for.
If that would be a big ask. If they ask for players to be exclusive to the W, I'm not sure what's going to happen to leagues like Unrivaled or Project B or Athletes Unlimited. I don't know.
I think we will split it. They will have the players who were not playing the W. The players who will either choose to play for one or for the other, essentially.
Maybe it could even become something similar to a G League.
I think that's the best way to make it unified. I don't know how that will work because those are two different brands growing separately. But I think if there was a way for them to be unified, it would have made so much more sense. Then both of them can grow together. and they can bounce off each other. They can split the marketing around it.
I agree. Man, I wish they had asked us.
Whoever is in charge of the business, which is Nafisa and Brianna Stewart and probably other people as well. By the way, Brianna Stewart just got signed to go play.
I mentioned that.
Turkey.
I agree. She's signed and she's going back to play with her team overseas. And you were not happy about that.
No, because it goes back to that conflict of interest that I was mentioning. You're out here talking to me. I am the W. I'm the business.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to me that you want those conditions. I'm considering. But at the same time, you are building my rival, the Unrivaled. You are building my rival. And you're also going overseas to play for a team that is established in a league that is very established, which is Turkey.
Yes.
So I don't understand. Like, how am I supposed to like take this as, I would take it as you're challenging me. I think you're challenging me.
I agree. They are challenges.
I agree, but I don't think that is in the best interest of players when you do such thing under negotiation.
That's really hard. That's so hard because you're talking about Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. We were talking about both of them. And they both are able to make the decisions that they need to make that are in the best interest for themselves too, you know? There's the business of the Unrivaled. There's the business of the W, which they are part of. And then they're players too. And so like they have these situations where they're being tugged and pulled and they're trying to make the best decision they can in order to grow their brand, grow their pockets. And not only that, but just be players. They want to be players. They want to compete. Maybe Brianna Stewart wanted to go back and compete for her team for some reason. Maybe she had some unfinished business. Maybe she just wanted to be a part of that area. Maybe she wanted her family to experience that again. Like there are so many things that go alongside of it. And I know it's a challenge, but what's the difference? Like, what if another player from the Unrivaled League that also has some equity in Unrivaled, they left and they went to go play overseas?
I mean, Unrivaled is only 8 weeks long.
I know, but it can happen like that. You know what I mean? It's just the challenge for me because at the end of the day, yes, they want the game of basketball to grow and they've created this platform to do so. But ultimately, they're players still. So they're going to go out and do the things that are best for their careers.
And that's where I think the problem is. We'll have to agree to disagree on this one. That's what we're here for, to disagree.
So fight. So let's wrap it up here. But think about like kind of all the things that we've been talking about, and think about this. What if the real issue with all these things that we're talking about is how these businesses have been built? I think that is the issue. Like if you go back and think about this, the WNBA has not shown their financials to the players of the league. I understand business is business. Both of you and I do. But understanding that portion really frustrates me. There's no trust. There's no trust that can be built. So of course the players are going to ask for these things. Guess what? We don't know what your numbers are, so we're going to pluck them out of what we think they are.
That's why we're asking for growth and not net revenue.
Maybe the W can be more transparent with those things. I do think that's important.
Yeah. Perhaps it will make it easier on the negotiations if you just showed your book.
But we'll see about that. And then think about Unrivaled. Think about Project B. They're brand new leagues. And I do think that the Unrivaled League is a great start. But, like, how do they grow beyond just the United States, like we've been talking about? I think that's something that you have to keep thinking. Like, if they're only focused on what's here right now, or only focused on trying to compete against the W, like, how are they going to grow? How are they going to be sustained? How are they going to be a powerhouse? I don't think that they created the Unrivaled League to just be like coincide with the W. They want it to be a powerhouse too. They want it to be a place where players can come and compete at a high level, and they can protect their bodies because the courts are shorter. It's 3v3. They get to work on their handles. They get to work on all the things that they've been working on in the off season. They can work on it right there against the best players. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
the stakes aren't as high, you know? So it's something to think about, you know?
truly. And ultimately, we're going to find out where all those leaks, and including the W, where they're going to take us. But we are excited that there are all those things happening around the world of women's sports, because that just means that we are growing
Yeah.
and we'll keep growing. And you're not going to be able to deny us. So thank you, Nafisa and Brianna Stewart, for founding the league, because although I have lots of opinions to say, I am very appreciative of what you created.
Wow, Jay. What a great conversation we had.
I agree.
Man, y'all, kind of let us know what you think about the things that we were talking about. Let us know what you think about the Unrivaled League. Let us know what you think about the W. We didn't get to talk about Athletes Unlimited, but put those things in the comments as well. Let us know what you think about all these leagues, and how do you think they're going to build with each other, or are they just going to be against each other, continue to butt heads?
I agree. Hopefully by the next episode, we're going to have some news coming up with the WNBA and everything. But otherwise, we'll stay tuned regardless. So thank you all for watching, and thank you for being here with us on our news studio.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
If you want to see more from She Won Media, follow us at She Won Media in all social media platforms.